Okay, so I'm Susie Sullivan, and I've been a public school music teacher for the last 20 years. This is actually my start of my 21st year. So I have a rather physical job. I teach over 200 students every day, and I travel very far for work. I work about 2 hours from where I live, so I have a very full life in that respect. And I live in southern New Jersey near the shore with my husband and my service dog Sailor. I guess my journey with the fibroids, I actually didn't know that I had them for a long time. I had always had very painful periods and went for my standard checkups every year with my regular OBGYN. And whenever I complained of any kind of period pain or cramps or anything like that, I was just put on birth control, and that was it. There was never any investigation or any mention of fibroids or anything like that. So I actually didn't even really know about fibroids for a long time. But it was in March of 2020 that I had missed a period, and my belly was bloated and distended. And I thought, something's going on here. So I went to the doctor, and he said, well, let's do an ultrasound and see what's happening. And I was diagnosed with 2 small fibroids. But at the time, I was also told that there was nothing you could do for them, that you just kind of wait it out, come back in 6 months. If they happen to grow to a particular size, then we'll talk about what to do then. But when I went back in 6 months, I was told that they had shrunk. So at that point, I was newly married. We were thinking in terms of fertility, and I thought, I need to go find out what this is all about. So I ended up going to a reproductive endocrinologist, in which at my first appointment, I was told that I actually had a huge fibroid and that I was going to need surgery. So this was opposite information to what I got the first time. So I trusted what I was being told, and we went forward with a C-section laparotomy. And at that point, during that surgery, they discovered that, yes, I had a fibroid, but what they saw as the large fibroid was actually not a fibroid. It was a cyst. So I had a huge cyst sitting inside my abdomen that was pushing on the uterus. And there was also a lot of other types of tissue around that they thought was endometriosis, but was later then proven not to be endometriosis. So when I went back for my follow-up appointment, a month or so, however long it was after my first surgery, the doctor looked again and said, oh, there's something else in there. So they thought that there was another fibroid sitting inside the uterine wall that they couldn't see before because of where that cyst was on the outside. So they said, you're going to need another surgery because, again, thinking in terms of fertility, this can't stay there. It was in a kind of a poor location in terms of carrying a pregnancy. So we scheduled another surgery for June after I got out of school for the year, and that ended up being a midline laparotomy. And they went in and they were able to remove what they thought was a fibroid, but then I was later told, no, that was adenomyosis. And we did an IVF cycle in between those surgeries, thinking that it would be good to at least, collect eggs at that point. But anyway, that ended up not turning out well. So come the fall, we were doing another IVF cycle. And at that point, I was assured that it was okay to carry a pregnancy. It was okay to move forward with all of that. And then after we did the egg retrieval, which ended up not working out, but after they completed that procedure, I was then called and told, no, you need another surgery. You have another fibroid. There's something else in there. You're going to need to have another surgery. And at that point, I didn't know what to think. So I decided to change doctors because I wanted another opinion. And I went through treatment for ovarian cysts at that point after changing doctors. So they kind of got those under control. And then when we were getting ready to try for a third IVF cycle, I was told at that point that was not going to work out either, so they canceled it. And then I was told that that fibroid really needs to come out. So I was sent to another surgeon, but it ended up not being the surgeon that I needed. Went to the appointment and I was told that that surgeon does not do that kind of surgery. We were looking for a robotic myomectomy, but she did hysterectomies. So I was sent to the wrong person. So at that point, you can imagine my frustration. I was very emotional, very upset. My husband didn't know what to think. Do I need a surgery? Do I not need a surgery? So I started doing my own research. And that's where I found the Center for OBGYN care. And that's what led me to you guys. Very positive. So I had told my husband that I wanted to find a specialist. And when I found your center, I sent an online message, just an online inquiry, and that was on a Friday night. I received a response back Saturday, which I did not expect. I thought, I'm going to put this out there. Let's see if I maybe hear from somebody next week. But I heard from someone the next day, at least, through email. And then by Monday, I had gotten a phone call already, and everything was already in motion. The requests for medical records and putting in all the paperwork and all of that, it all moved very quickly for me, which I appreciated, because you can imagine how much time had already gone into my care and all those surgeries and the recoveries, that I appreciated that this was so thorough. It was direct. It was easy to understand. And this was all just to get to the consultation with the doctor. And what I realized right from the get-go was that this was a center who took women's health seriously. I could feel that. I could feel that from the paperwork. I could feel that from the way communication was through email, through the phone. And I appreciated that, because I wanted someone to take my condition seriously and to let me know, do I need another surgery or do I not? And I felt that part of the process was extremely thorough. So leading up to the surgery, I did have to have an MRI done, but the doctor had called that in and we were ready to go within a month. I had talked to him, I think the first week of November, and by the end of November, I had my MRI done and my surgery was scheduled for December 13th. This was all just in 2022. So leading up to it, it didn't feel scary. I didn't have really much anxiety about it, because I truly felt that I was in good hands. I appreciated my consultation with Dr. McCool very much. He was direct. He had done a thorough investigation of my medical records. He was able to clear up some discrepancies that were in there, things that I thought about my condition that turned out to not show up in like the surgical records. So he was able to really clear a lot of things up for me and make me feel confident that this was the right step to be taking. And that in terms of fertility, yes, that fibroid should be removed in order for me to move forward with that. And he assured me that this was not going to be like my other surgeries. He understood that I had had the 2 laparotomies previously. And he explained how the procedure works, and it's small incisions. It's not these big incisions. It's not 6 to 8 weeks of, that intense recovery that you get with a major surgery. I would be able to get back to work after a week, certainly being, cautious and careful with my body because the insides have to heal. But I just felt very confident moving forward that I was with the right people. I think I felt it was a little tough going back to work at first after that week. Just knowing mentally that I had had another surgery. I think there was more a mental and emotional aspect for me, just because it was the 3rd time I was going through a surgery. But it felt good to be able to get back to life for the most part a week after having the surgery. Like, I was able to get up and walk around. I was able to be independent. I didn't need people to do things for me. I was able to manage my day-to-day life. I didn't have hardly any pain. a little discomfort at the incision sites, but, I was able to get up out of a chair by myself. And these are all things that are, reflective of having had major surgeries where I couldn't get up out of a chair by myself. I needed assistance to go to the bathroom. I didn't need any of that. I was able to move around and to do my daily living just like I did before. Albeit, being careful with bending and lifting, that kind of thing, not overdoing it. But I got back to my job. I was able to drive to work on my own. I was able to function at my job, again, being careful, but, the kids were glad to have me back. They understood that I just needed to be, a little bit cautious with my movements and, kind of protecting my abdomen from being bumped into. But that was really the extent of it. And I really started to feel like myself, probably by the end of January, which is about, a month and a half, where I felt like, okay, I felt like my insides had healed and I felt confident, being, more active in a normal way, with regular exercise and that kind of thing. I think the biggest thing that I would want, women to understand is that periods that are painful are not normal. I have normal periods now, and I can say that confidently, and they are wildly different than what I experienced probably from the time I first started having a period, is my guess. I don't remember back quite that far, but I do know what it was like going through college and through my 30s. I know what they felt like, and they do not feel like they do now. So being aware of your body, our bodies truly do talk to us. And if you are experiencing pain, ask questions and investigate with your doctor. Don't just accept that pain is normal. There's a real difference between pain and discomfort. And I get, regular discomfort now, which I'm happy to have because it is so wildly different than the painful monthly period that I was getting. And to really be your own advocate, you have to research things yourself. You have to know what to ask. My problem was I didn't know what to ask. All those years when I was younger, I had painful periods and I accepted, oh, well, you just take birth control for that. And did it help? Yeah, I guess it did, but was it masking a problem that could have been taken care of a lot sooner in my life? And I suspect that's probably true based off of what they discovered during those laparotomies. There was a problem building in there for a very, very long time that wasn't being taken care of because we didn't know it was there other than the pain every month. But I wrote that the experience with the team at the Center for GYN Care was top level professionalism. I do suffer from traumatic brain injury, PTSD, and anxiety, and I felt completely cared for and at ease through the entire process. From my first conversation with Dr. McCool all the way through dealing with every person that I had to deal with in terms of paperwork and the nurses and the care that I got at the surgery center. I just felt that everyone cared about my well-being. And that is not how I have always felt in terms of medical care, both in terms of this aspect of my body and as well as other aspects of my life. I know that I was in the right place, and how I feel now is representative of that.